Don't drag down my pillow while we're at it. Can you give us an update?
Yeah, it's been a new attack, Steve. You know, we had American Express go after us and reduce our credit to virtually nothing. Now we have audits. They're going after my employees that were during the China virus. You know, you had all these at-home moms and stuff, everybody out there taking calls at our call center under contract labor across the country. Now they're doing employee audits. They're trying to take away their jobs that you all call in your orders on. And it started in California. Now there's 3 other states that are coming at my pillow. And Steve, it's disgusting. This just was breaking news yesterday. And
yep, that's the way they're doing it. It's not just the social media companies. If they can't stop somebody there, then they're going to go after the sponsors. If they can't do that, they get the payment processors. Welcome to 2023, circa 1984.
I would say it's Nixonian, but it would give Nixon a bad name.
Oh, yeah, it would. Jesus. It's just, it's 1984, 40 years later.
How do we sound? You sound okay? Are you good? You sound.
You hear me all right? I think I'm all right. Okay. You sound fine to me.
Okay.
And you're looking good. I'm wearing the tie-dye. I'm hoping that we'll be celebrating something.
There's all different variations of that tie-dye, from what I understand.
I think there are a couple different ones. I prefer blues and things like that, but hopefully we have something to celebrate. We're starting to creep in. We're getting a little bit closer.
To what?
We are now under 1,000 from the 100K goal. Actually, we're under 900.
We're under 900? We just need 900 people?
Fewer than 900.
In the entire country or in the world?
The world. It's international.
You're saying, let me see if I get this straight. You're saying that if we get 900 people, it could be from Zimbabwe, Mozambique, Stalingrad, or now Leningrad, or whatever they call it over there, you're saying we could get to 100,000?
Yes.
What about Ireland?
There are enough people in Ireland to take us over the top.
Okay, what about Scotland? Because we have a lot of Scottish followers out
there are enough people, even in a neighborhood or a city in Scotland, that could take us over the top.
Okay, what about Australia? Because we have a lot of Australian followers there, and they seem to be quite aggressive.
Yeah, I think even in the bush, they might have enough. So,
wow, this is some breaking news somehow.
Definitely. Now, I will say that there is one person who probably won't be subscribing to us, who probably has something in mind for our future. And that's this
very strong partisans in both parties in the past. And we had very bitter battles over all kinds of things, gun control and climate change and the economy and taxes. But there wasn't this little tail of extremism wagging the dog of the Republican Party as it is today. Mm-hmm. And sadly, so many of those extremists, those MAGA extremists, take their marching orders from Donald Trump, who has no credibility left by any measure. He's only in it for himself. He's now defending himself in civil actions and criminal actions. And when do they break with him? Because at some point, maybe there needs to be a formal deprogramming of the cult members, but something needs to happen.
Well, thank you, Chairman Mao.
Thank you, Chairman Mao. What's amazing is they never point out what the extremism is.
No, you disagree. That's extreme.
What is the extremism of the MAGAs? That they go to work, they go to church, they have children, they put on the school bus. What is it they do to these people that's so extreme? Other than 85 million of them voting for Donald Trump in the last election, more than any other incumbent president in the history of the United States. What is their extremism? They legally own guns. They legally hunt. They legally go fishing. They work at various jobs. They pay their taxes. I'm not really sure. They go after these Catholics that they're extremists because they're worshiping in the Catholic Church. what is it that is obviously these people on the left have demonstrated repeatedly their extremism, Eric, as we both pointed out. It's beyond any doubt, even by moderate Democrats are now saying, Jesus Christ, these people are fucking nuts. But what is it that they find, A, extreme about the administration of Donald Trump that had an amazing economy, no war, no invasion of other countries, all kinds of benefits, building a wall, trying to do what was right. And, what was the extremism? I can never, and I've dug into this quite a bit. I can't seem to find what it is. And when you ask them, their eyes kind of glaze over and they just go, he's a racist, he's this. So they go, yeah, but what is it, bro? What is the policy that drives you insane about him? And they simply say, it's not his policy, it's him. And I go, okay, you don't like him. You didn't like Bush. You didn't like Reagan. You didn't like, I don't know, going back to the Civil War, you didn't like. But this nonstop Marxist undermining and a soft coup d'etat and election irregularities is a little bit different than not liking a guy.
Well, I just argue it's confession through projection.
Yeah,
Whatever they're throwing out is, no, that's what they are. And they're just painting it as we're studying, communism, right in the manifesto, right in the tactics, everything else. Whatever you're doing, you paint on the other person. That's what she's doing. Russiagate, hoax. It's a lie. What do they say now? They always say the big lie, right? Well, wasn't Russiagate the big lie?
Yeah.
Provably. Even by an ally of theirs, Mueller proved it to be a lie, and Mueller was no fan of Trump.
So did the other guy, the last report that came out.
The
Durham report, same thing. Yeah. Same thing again. Proved to be nothing there, and they just bury these stories. Any investigation they have, these investigations are really just truth-seeking missions on the part of the investigators. Nobody goes to jail. Nobody does anything, but they do flesh out the truth of a particular move on their part. As for the repercussions, that's not their job. It's not Durham's or Mueller's job to prosecute them. Whatever they recommend. Even if they recommended prosecution, it doesn't mean the DOJ is going to do that, right, Eric?
No, of course not.
But they do ferret out. They did ferret out the phony signature of the FBI lawyer, how he forged the documents.
Kleinsmith, who is practicing law again, by the way.
What's that?
Who is back practicing law.
Yeah, no, I'm saying they can't control the DC bar. They can't control the Department of Justice that should have incarcerated them. They can't control any of that. But these two investigations will stand in history. Also with the Republican congressman from California who did the first one that they ridiculed. I forget the guy's name. Which one?
Darrell Issa?
No. He's now in charge of Trump's social media.
Oh.
You know what I'm talking about.
I do, but the name slipped.
Yeah, just maybe the people in the chat know.
I know.
They maligned him unendingly. And yet, nobody's going to go after Schiff, for stealing and
Nunes.
Nunes. He had a report. So there's 3 reports. All of them will stand the time of history because they can't be altered. They will be there when your grandchildren are there, if we have grandchildren at that time. But the reality of it is Nunes and Mueller and Durham, those reports will disagree with Clinton equals MAGA extremists, disagree with Trump.
Nate's here.
Oh, hi, Nate. Well, okay.
Yeah.
Hey, there's a liberal in the house. Hold on. Let me get my other hat on.
Yeah. Hurry up. New York liberal, keep in mind.
Let me tell you something. There are more people in New York for Mauritania than there are for Mauritania now. A country that nobody knew about a week ago now apparently has a complete jet line. The Mauritania route, not to be confused with the Underground Railroad, this is now the underground plane system. They're being flown from Mauritania in Africa to Turkey. From Turkey, they're being flown to Brazil. From Brazil, they're being flown to Nicaragua. From Nicaragua, they're taking buses to the border in Mexico, where they're coming across, and then from FEMA being shipped to Nate's block in the Bronx, first stopping off in Manhattan at whatever hotel they can get their hands on. But the reality of it is, the Associated Press ran an article yesterday saying that people on social media were paying for these flights. That was a complete lie. There's nothing in the article about it. It was just a headline. Somebody put it on my Twitter feed. When you drill down into the AP story, there is no payment. There is nobody who's paying this. They then go into the Mauritania economy, saying it's this poor African country that can't possibly sustain these people. They have to flee. But later in the article, they have a booming middle class that's able to raise cattle and sell some of the cattle to pay for the $8,000 to $10,000 travel fees for the people of Mauritania. Another crock of shit.
You know why my vote is?
What's that?
I think it's China.
No, I was going to get there eventually with the China thing. But the reality of it is, they were claiming in the article that $8,000 to $10,000 is going to cut it to fly all these routes that I just told you, all these routes, and then get to the United States. They're getting to the United States. They have no baggage. I believe that not only is China doing it, China's not paying for it either. I'll predict to you right now, they're flying on Chinese airlines for free. That's the plot I wanted to put in here today. That's the other twist. They are flying on Air China from Mauritania to Turkey, from Turkey to Brazil, Brazil to Nicaragua, and then taking buses along the way. They're showing up with no bags, no luggage, no nothing. And the next thing you know, they're knocking on Nate's door up in the Bronx. And after a while, Adams is going to buckle. And he's already losing his hair and losing his mind. He had no hair when he started. But the reality of it is, the karma of this situation is so sarcastically brilliant. The fact that they said, give us your tired, your poor, your huddled masses, yearning to break the law, breathe free, come to a New York FEMA hotel and live here with no jobs and no money, and now phony Social Security IDs and phony passports out of Mauritania. The brilliance and karma of this thing is breathtaking. And it's not stopping. It's not stopping.
Hey, don't worry, Mark. I'm sure that any time there's going to be a Vice documentary that's going to show all this, right?
Not anymore, because Vice went out of business.
No, George Soros bought him.
The CIA pulled the plug on Vice. Apparently, it was too expensive even for the CIA to run a network, so they pulled the plug on it. However, it was China Day the other day in New York, a day that nobody knew was even a holiday in New York. And Eric Adams went to serve his Chinese masters down in Chinatown, the people who are supplying him with money. According to media in New York, he's getting money to deal with some of these migrant refugees from Mauritania. Why would China, and I asked this to the crowd, why would China send money to Eric Adams to help with the Mauritania immigrants? What does China have to do with Mauritania? I haven't dug into this yet, so I'm kind of asking myself these questions in general. But I think you're going to find that not only is Eric Adams compromised, not only do they have police stations from the Chinese Communist Party in New York that I said over a year ago, and people laughed at me. They've rounded up various Chinese people who, were expats from China, that had family in China. But this is great. This is my favorite one. This is on the day that the day itself, the date is commemorated as the day that Chairman Mao solidified power by the barrel of a gun in China. And it's a celebration of Chinese communist rule, Chinese takeover, the first day that they celebrate this, China Day. Why would you be celebrating this in New York City? Why would you? Do they celebrate Stalin's birthday in Beverly Hills? I mean, what's the deal here? What's the deal? As a Russian community in Beverly Hills, I find it would be surprising if they celebrated the birthday of Lenin in Beverly Hills. These are all capitalist, wealthy real estate guys who fled the Soviet Union and barely got out. A number of years ago in LA, I think it was Deng. He came to LA for a ceremonial visit to LA. And I thought, this is going to be weird. He'll just show up, go to the embassy, have coffee, whatever he's going to do. all of the Chinese Americans who had fled China showed up at the airport and the parade route dressed in ceremonial garb and bowed down to him as his entourage passed from the LA airport to the Chinese embassy. These were people I thought were loyal freaking Americans dressed up, bowing down to a nation that had communism that they fled from so they can have freedom here to raise their families and to do capitalistic things. It was quite shocking, and that was about 10 years ago.
Yeah, I don't doubt it. I just do hope we get a moratorium on Mauritania.
Moratorium on Mauritania, M for M.
Mm-hmm. That's my new policy.
They could move over to Ghana. I mean, who is running? What is the Belt and Road program? Where is that? That's in Africa, Eric. Why are these people that don't have a pot to piss in flying? And I would say if you put money to it, it would be a $50,000 excursion. You know what I mean? AP had no story on it because somebody called them and said people are starting to question in the culture how these people from Africa are landing in New York. Somebody's raising questions, Bob, and we need you, whoever Bob is, the generic editor of the Associated Press, we need you, Bob, to get off your fat ass because we're paying you as part of Operation Mockingbird 2 to write these freaking articles when we tell you to. So Bob did the best he could. And if you see this article, which I'll post on Locals afterwards, if you read this article, it just goes around in a circle because they just got the call to do the article. They didn't say resolve the thing. So it goes around in a circle, and there is no answer as to how these cats are getting from Mauritania to Brooklyn. I mean, it's one of the, and they kind of said, well, you're going to have to pay these guys, these drug cartels. That's in Central America, bro. I mean, how do you get from Mauritania to Turkey to Brazil to a bus in Nicaragua? And then in Nicaragua, you may have to pay a fee to the drug cartels to get to Mexico and cross the border. But that is a lot of traveling for people on the balls of their ass who AP is claiming sold a couple of cows to get there. Jesus Christ.
It's almost like migrant laundering. But on that note, before we go any farther, we do have a sponsor, which we definitely need because we were demonetized 5 minutes in. Just
right,
so you know.
Way to go. Talking about
right on, guys.
Mauritania, the code word.
I don't even know what the code word is, but definitely want to share today's sponsor, Aura. Ever searched your name online and found your personal details exposed on public sites? That's the work of data brokers who profit by selling your info to robocallers and spammers. Enter our sponsor today, Aura. Aura identifies and confronts these brokers, submitting opt-out requests for you. By law, they must comply, but they often complicate the process. Aura simplifies this for you. With services like parental controls, antivirus, VPN, password management, and identity theft insurance, Aura's got you covered. I used Aura and it found my info on 25 data brokers. It alerted me to 50 plus sites that had compromised my information, and it also monitored my bank for large transactions. I was a real surprise when I got alerts when I was transferring money around. Real lifesaver. This is an added layer of security that I can't do on my own. For peace of mind, try Aura for 2 weeks free at aura.com/unstructured and boost your online safety. Yeah, please do support these people. Support our other sponsor too. I'm sneaking in, but Mundo's, which
the coffee guy. Yeah, I got the coffee. It's pretty good.
Yeah, it's definitely good. And these sponsors, they're keeping us alive. Trust me, because the AdSense money and the monetization, it's not going great. It's not going great. Hey, Mike Lindell, we can take my pillow too. If you can get your credit worked out.
Or he should use Aura. I mean, there's a guy who needs some help.
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding, since he's got everybody looking at him.
Wait, I got a sponsor too today. This is my new sponsor. It's John F. Kerry presidential deck cards, which we're going to go through one a week. I found this in my storage place the other day, and people might not remember John Kerry. He ran a presidential campaign back in the old days. So I just plucked out 3 cards, and we'll do a couple each week, I guess. The first one I found, these are all his different endorsements and backers, I guess. maybe you can remember some of these people from the old days. This is a guy named Al Franken, who was an author from years ago. He's saying vote Kerry. It says Al Franken, author, down below.
Yeah, he and Ann Coulter were always on the best-selling list next to each other, kind of passing each other.
And it says, if you look at the sign he's holding, some obscure radio show called Air America. I don't know if anybody remembers. Al Franken apparently became a United States senator. I don't know how this happened. He then was Me Too'd for grabbing a woman's tits on an airplane trip to help the servicemen overseas. He's saying to vote John Kerry. And it says, in small print, it says, and Bush is a big fat idiot on the bottom there. I think a takeoff on his book saying somebody was a big fat idiot. Rush Limbaugh, I think, was a big best-selling book for Al Franken. Al Franken, who I did a lot of drugs with, sent around an email to his friends when he was running for the U.S. Senate. I got one of those emails saying, please do not discuss Al Franken's drug use during his senatorial campaign. Thank you. I swear to God. I swear to God. I ran into Al Franken a couple of months ago up here at the Greek, walking down the hill. He was hiking, and I ran into Al Franken, and we just commiserated, whatever, briefly. I didn't get into a long thing with Franken, but we did a lot of drugs together and partied and did a lot of weird shit together. But that's not the point. The point is the karma that this brilliant guy would come full circle, and not have a job any longer. Despite his Democratic bona fides.
Well, he actually replaced, if I recall, a legendary senator, Democrat, one of those long-running, I forgot the guy's name, but...
Right, but you may not forget this guy's name, who is the second one I plugged from the deck. These are random selections, folks. There'll be more. These are just random. I plugged out one of the biggest supporters, of course, this, what's her name, Letitia James or something, who's the attorney general who's torturing Trump now in New York. There used to be another attorney general years ago, and his name was Elliot Spritzer. Elliot Spritzer, actually Spitzer, who also, before Me Too even happened, I think, was involved in some shenanigans in the state of New York. He was the sheriff of New York. He was slated to be the next president of the United States. He's a big supporter here of John Kerry. He was the attorney general of New York.
He was the Giuliani, the follow-up prosecutor. Super legendary.
He said he was the sheriff of New York. He was on a fast track to presidency. I don't know if anybody ever heard or remembers this guy.
Oh yeah.
But and the final one, this is a guy who was for a strong national defense, and he's wearing a military uniform. I don't know if you remember this guy himself. John Kerry, JFK, John F. Kerry, who famously
threw his medals.
Well, without he threw his medals, he says that there's no footage of that.
Oh, true. And
was swift boated by his own crew, who said none of it was true. His heroism in Vietnam. So those today are the JFK, John F. Kerry presidential playing cards of the week. And now back to the show.
No. All right. Well, let's go. We'll dip in for a little international news. Yes, it is America's Untold Stories, but this is a concern because it's coming here.
What is it? What?
It's going to be from Swiss.
Oh, right, yeah.
Canada and down, quite possibly. This guy.
I think he's French, by the way. I think he's been in not hiding. Exile to Switzerland? They went after him in France, but go on.
Okay, I don't know. He's French Swiss, so it's hard to know on that. But anyway, he was sentenced to 60 days in jail for calling a journalist a fat lesbian.
Interesting.
Now I don't know which part is the insult.
From what I understand, he was thinking of calling her a fat dyke, but reeled it in at the last minute.
Okay.
And compromised by calling her a fat lesbian. Little good it did him, because he'll be chopping a stone with a sledgehammer for 60 days in a brutal Swiss prison.
Well, okay, my question is this. I thought we were celebrating big people, and I thought we were celebrating LGBTQ. So isn't that actually a complimentary title, according to modern logic?
I have no idea. I mean, I sent you some photos from Target. I went to Target the other day, and they have like displays of clothing. You know, you're coming along and you go, oh, here's some photo of some particular pants. Everyone was enormous. They had a black guy in a wheelchair. Then they had a Black Power cooking display of some
the
product.
Ghetto Grubs or something.
Yeah, and it was called Black Power. And waffles and a waffle maker and syrup and some other crap, but it was all Black Power. It was like the not Aunt Jemima. It was Angela Davis pancake mix, which I found to be really, really racist.
I agree. That's a terrible, terrible thing.
I think Aunt Jemima pancake mix is now called something else because I bought it and I didn't recognize it. It had the same color box. It's now called, I don't know, Pine something or other mix or some shit.
Yeah, I think I heard that somebody bought Aunt Jemima trademark because they wanted the bottle back or something.
Right.
I can't remember.
Well, there's Mrs. Buttersworth. I mean,
maybe that's it.
Mrs. Buttersworth. I think she was my nanny growing up.
Could be.
She looked like her.
I'm going to jump into a couple stories. I know that people are probably wanting us to talk about it, but it's been a theme for months now about RFK.
Oh,
so we're going to take the votes, but I want to drill into.
Wait. Can you get into the assassin first, so I can get this off my plate? I've reached out to a couple of mainstream media friends of mine locally about the assassin. Now, the assassin story I find to be extremely suspect, and my bells and whistles are going off. This guy, in case you didn't realize it, showed up with loaded guns. He had a phony DEA badge. He had a phony U.S. Marshals badge. Whatever was going on with this guy, he was apprehended by DeBecker Associates, which RFK Jr. keeps mentioning DeBecker as his security force, while crying that he doesn't have Secret Service and that they're trying to bleed him financially, the Biden administration, because if he doesn't get Secret Service, he's got to pay DeBecker and Associates something like $200,000 to $300,000 to $400,000 a month for security. Okay, I get that. And all of a sudden, this thing happens, right? This guy shows up, and it was over here on Wilshire at the Ebell Theater over here, some event he was having on Wilshire. And the guy shows up, and he's outside, and he's not doing anything. He says he's there. It turns out, this is what I found, because the story went away. They called LAPD. Yeah. Now, listen, hear this out, because I've reached out to some mainstream local news guys to follow up on this, because I can't. I don't have a news organization. But there's been no follow-up on this story. Okay. This has been like 2 to 3 weeks. No follow-up. No what happened to him. No LAPD story. Was he arrested? Was he convicted? Will he stand trial? Did he post bail? Zero. Okay, just to fill it in, he put up a TikTok video filmed by his brother before the event in his garage with the outfit on, saying that I'm going to this thing. If I don't come back, you should contact my commander-in-chief, the president of the United States, Donald J. Trump. Okay, that's the TikTok video. He's never made a TikTok video before. He had no TikTok account. His brother is asking him questions in the video. Where you going? What's this about? And he films this thing that looks phony as all hell. Okay?
Is his brother off screen?
Off screen with the camera.
Of course.
His brother's off screen with the camera. The whole thing reeks. Okay, so RFK Jr. was on with Theo Von, this supposed comic who's got a podcast. I don't know who Theo Von is, but he's on there talking to him about the event. And as they're talking, the guy in the TikTok video says, you can go to this website, you can go to this Instagram account, and he spells it out as to where he's coming from. RFK intentionally talks over that. so you can't hear where he's coming from. And I'll send you the link to it. Maybe you can figure it out with some sort of audio deprogramming device. But he talks over it really quickly, RFK, when the guy starts spelling out where you can find out more information. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Maybe he doesn't want to delineate that. Maybe he doesn't want to put that out there. I get it. The guy says he's going for a job interview to be part of the security team. Okay. So the two guys start laughing, Theo Von and RFK Jr., and they're going, ha, ha, ha. That's some way to go for a job interview, loaded with guns and loaded with another gun and bullets and everything else. Okay. Maybe he's crazy. Maybe he's not crazy. I don't really know. The fact of the matter is he never showed up again. They never made a statement about what happened to him. There was no arrest record. They said they turned him over to the LAPD, and there's no follow-up to this story. And immediately as he's talking to Theo Von, in the same video that I'm referring to from 2 days ago, he says, that's why I need Secret Service protection. And Theo Von goes, that's right. That's why you need Secret Service protection from Biden. And then he says, it's killing me financially. Luckily, I have DeBecker and Associates, the number one. He's just going on and on about DeBecker, as if DeBecker is a sponsor like Aura. You know what I mean? Like,
Maybe.
DeBecker's a sketchy dude out here. He's a real sketchy guy in Hollywood. He has more dirt on people in Hollywood, DeBecker, because he does security for all the stars, than anybody else since Pelicano went to jail. Okay? Just so you know, I just wanted to get this off my plate because I've reached out to a couple of mainstream media people here, one at Fox Local and another one at NBC, to try to follow up on this story and see what the hell happened. Because this thing stinks. This thing stinks. You know, if he's real and he's crazy, let's hear about it. I mean, if it was an assassination attempt, let's hear about it. But that's not what they're saying. It's really, really clouded as to what was going on here.
No, I'm glad you're looking because honestly, I completely forgot about it. I know,
everybody.
Even Paul Pelosi's attacker was in court and they showed him and he talked. And there was police testimony that got released. But this guy just vanished.
Yep. Went off the grid. And it may have been a setup to get the Secret Service. And I think maybe DeBecker, possibly some other people put this up. Because the guy doesn't threaten RFK. He just simply shows up with a phony badge and a phony thing. And he goes in the interview. RFK Jr. says, one of DeBecker's men said that badge is too shiny, bro, to be a real badge.
That is, I always thought that was weird.
Eric, you got to watch it. I was going to tell you last night, but I only saw it like the day before. If we could find that interview, we'll put it up with Theo Von, with RFK Jr., who looks very relaxed. And then for reasons that completely were triggering me, they go into incredible detail of their different 12-step meetings that they've been going to, the two of them, with things that people are sharing at the meetings, where the meetings were, who's saying what. RFK Jr. at a meeting in Maine where he's attacked by some old-timer verbally. I mean, there's a little too much information in terms of recovery. But that's also in the interview, which I'll find and put on locals for members only.
It's out there. I mean, Theo, just put it out there. Theo Von, I know you haven't heard of him. He's very tight with Joe Rogan. He's part of that crew.
I get it.
He's a big name. Pretty big.
I know he's a big name, and I know he's got followers. I'm just saying there's nothing funny about this. And speaking of comedians, which I did want to get to in 1 second, one of the craziest stories of the week, Eric. I don't know if you have a copy. Yeah. That's why I was leaning in on Theo Von, because Oliver told me this story. Oliver Stone told me the story a couple of years ago. He was hired by Warner Brothers to write the definitive script on Martin Luther King and the assassination. So he writes the script, like an Oliver Stone script, and it's warts and all. Turns it into Warner Brothers. They give it to the family because the family apparently has approval on every single project for reasons that nobody knows, including the "I Have a Dream" speech that they denied use of in the movie Selma to the director, the black director. She had to rewrite the "I Have a Dream" speech just so people know how crazy the MLK family is. They tried to shake her down for money, and it was kind of a low budget indie. She didn't have the money, so she begged them to let the and people are challenging this, but nobody has the chutzpah to go to court and challenge this insanity that most lawyers believe the MLK family does not have the rights to these public domain speeches by Martin Luther King. But that's a story for another day. Her name was DuVernay. I forget her name for the movie Selma. Anyway, so Oliver was hired to write a big budget, huge studio picture.
It's a big story. I mean, this is a
huge story on Martin Luther King, right? So the family freaks out. Why? Because he puts in warts and all, saying this is a human being, and I have to do this movie. I'm Oliver Stone. I'm not going to just put together a Hallmark Hall of Fame thing. So they flip out because he puts in stuff about Martin Luther King that most people now realize, including Reverend Ralph Abernathy. And if you ever could find the memoir, the first edition version of Ralph Abernathy's memoir has all of the dirt on Martin Luther King, and he was there. This is from Abernathy's point of view for the memoir. The second edition, it's scrubbed. So don't be fooled. Try to find the first edition of Ralph Abernathy's book. That's a story for another day. Okay. So anyway, so Oliver Stone gets paid to write the script. And, he's got a price in it. I'm sure it's a couple $1 million, whatever. But he wants to make this movie. He doesn't give a shit about just writing the script. He's not a screenwriter anymore. So they flip out. The family flips out. He makes a statement saying, you hired me to do it. I'm not a Hallmark Hall of Fame director. A writer. If you want that, there's other people who can do it. You asked Oliver Stone, you get an Oliver Stone script. Okay.
Sure.
That was, I want to say, I don't know, 10 years ago, 7 years ago, until today. Now, today, the guy who's the executive producer has been looking for a director, and he found the director yesterday.
With Gravitas, right? So you got a big name, somebody really famous?
He got somebody who makes sense. Maybe a Paul Greengrass, maybe somebody who's huge, who knows politics, who's got a big body of work in the political arena. Maybe a British director, somebody who may have directed Gladiator or somebody, some huge director with gravitas. They found the guy, and this is the new director for the MLK movie, The Assassination of MLK. Maybe we could show him. That's right, Chris Rock. Chris Rock is the director of the MLK movie. Now, Steven Spielberg, no, you can't make this up, folks. You can't make this up. Chris Rock, who may have gotten slapped in the face, I don't know what happened to him in the Oscars as a presenter by a guy who may have, played Martin Luther King. I don't really know. This thing's getting so crazy that he was selected, and the executive producer is Steven Spielberg. So Steven Spielberg has been looking for a black director for 6 years, and nobody fit the bill. And, because he doesn't want a political radical. He didn't want a bomb thrower. He didn't want somebody with a preconceived notion of what happened, but he had to have a black guy. So he finally, now I wouldn't begrudge Chris Rock doing a documentary or directing a movie on Richard Pryor. As a comic, I would just go, oh, that's interesting. Chris Rock directing a movie, a biopic on Richard Pryor. That's very interesting. And he's got a cameo in it, let's say. Okay, that makes sense. This makes absolutely no sense. So I'm trying to make sense out of it. And I think what Spielberg was doing for 7 years was trying to find an apolitical, non-threatening, non-bomb throwing, non-Black Panther director for this movie who had a name. And that became Chris Rock. And I'm sure there were dozens of others who did not make the cut.
Yeah. I mean, one immediately comes to mind. Stella Got a Groove Back.
Who's that, Oprah?
No, the movie. The director of Stella Got a Groove Back.
Oh, okay. All right. I think Oprah's directed some stuff, though. But I'm saying...
Oh, well, Oprah, yeah.
Right. No, but I'm saying I think he purposefully did not want someone with a political agenda. And that may be Chris Rock, or who's the short black comic, the one that does all the commercials?
Oh, Kevin Hart?
Yeah, Kevin Hart could have directed this. How about Kevin Hart?
Well, he's very inoffensive, I will say.
Right, no, I think Kevin Hart turned it down. And then they went with Chris Rock. I think Kevin Hart goes, that's not for me, bro. I can't get into that,
Too risky.
Too risky for Kevin Hart. Chris Rock signs on for Revenge of Slap in the Face 2, The Reckoning.
Wow. Now, I will give credit, by the way, Chris Rock as an actor, not necessarily director. He did do season 3 or 4 of Fargo. I don't remember which one. And he was excellent. Excellent job playing the role.
There are very few comics who are able to do drama. I don't think he's one of them. That I didn't see that piece, but I've seen him in other stuff. The only thing that he really did well in, and people will know this, is New Jack City. I think that people should look at New Jack City to see the original Chris Rock movie, which probably his best movie.
Not Lethal Weapon.
No, that was terrible. He was terrible in that, Eric.
All right. No, I will say Fargo. He was excellent in Fargo, and that was a good drama.
He might have directed something that I'm not aware of. I'm sure he directed something, and I'm sure the investors are happy to have Steven Spielberg looking over his shoulder. I mean, that's really the key here, because Spielberg was attached to this for years. And of course, he's so milquetoast, so scared of his own shadow. He read all my Oswald stuff, by the way. And the head of his company called me back, said he was fascinated but terrified. And he will not be making it. He wanted to see if it overlapped. The guy told me, it was the head of his company. He wanted to see if it overlapped with his show, The Americans. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah, that's a good show.
Right, that was Spielberg's.
Wow,
and
okay.
That's why he was reading my thing.
Okay.
But he said it was terrifying.
I'm not completely surprised. Okay, so switching back. So we've got Oswald, we got Kennedy. Let's go back to RFK, because I know a lot of people. There's a lot of controversy on it. Okay, we have made the claim RFK takes votes away from Trump. However you break it down. And not everybody in our corner believes this or agrees with it. But some new things just came out as well, which I found very interesting, because you've been talking to me on the side and you've been discussing a figure in the past. Now, what triggered me is yesterday I found out that Cornel West is no longer running as a Green Party candidate. He's running as independent,
right? Which
leaves open the Green Party candidacy, a libertarian candidacy, because I don't know if there is one there. I think Cornel West was part of the Peace and Freedom one already. So I think he already went from one party to another.
I was part of that ticket in 1992. When I was asked to run as a vice presidential. No, I got to put this out because you mentioned peace and freedom.
Sure. I think that was it, but yeah.
Right. I was asked to run on a ticket with Timothy Leary in 1992 on the Peace and Freedom Party as vice president of the United States, which I had to decline for obvious reasons. But I'm sorry, go on.
No. So you've been telling me this on the side, and I did not remember it and did not realize it. And you were saying, hey, you voted for Rudy Giuliani.
Yes.
As a liberal,
because
he was running as a Liberal Party candidate in addition to Republican. And I couldn't help but hear what you said. Think of Cornel West. Think of all these parties could be ticket ballot access everywhere in the states.
Yeah, that's what they're going to do. I was telling Eric the other day that he ran on two Republican Party ticket and Liberal Party. How he got onto the Liberal Party, I don't know. Maybe he made a donation to him or whatever he did. But I and many others in New York were able to say that we voted for Giuliani and did not vote for a Republican. And this was a discussion in New York for a number of years in the party circuit about having voted for Giuliani, but defending yourself by saying, I didn't vote Republican, I voted liberal. And he was on the Liberal Party ticket. And I said this to Eric the other day, that this is what RFK is going to do. He's going to get onto whatever party structure he can. And this is in Giuliani being endorsed by the Liberal Party in New York for mayor, Eric, that article there.
Yeah, and that's exactly it, right?
Right. So that extra party won him the election, endorsed by the New York Liberal Party. That now clearly he's not a liberal. And that's the point I'm trying to make. And that's what I was talking to Eric about, that he is going to run, that he being RFK Jr., on any other additional party he can get. So when you look at the ballot, it may have his name 2, 3, or 4 times. And that is very helpful. That's what made Giuliani the mayor of New York, having run on that. And I voted for him. That's why I brought it up. And for years, I defended myself until now, where I don't have to. For years, I just said, what's the problem? I voted liberal. And they went, oh, come on. Yeah. It was Giuliani. You know what I mean? But I said, no, I don't know. And it wasn't me, just me. It was thousands of other New Yorkers who crossed over and, didn't cross over. They just semi-crossed over and voted the Liberal Party candidate, which I don't know how he got the party nomination, but he did. He did.
No, was he going against Dinkins or something? And Dinkins was a disaster. So it might have been just.
Dinkins was the father of Eric Adams. And Nate the lawyer knows what I'm talking about. You know I'm saying the truth, Eric, Nate. Eric Adams is the son, the illegitimate son of David Dinkins, who, while Whoopi Goldberg was on stage performing for me in the first Toyota Comedy Festival at Lincoln Center, throwing out so many F-bombs that the ladies in the audience with their mink stoles were having a heart attack. David Dinkins was on the side of the stage showing me pictures of his grandchildren in his wallet. And I just remember this. And Alan King came out and said to me, we got to get the famous Borscht Belt comic, Alan King, said, we got to get Whoopi Goldberg off the stage. She's killing us. And I mean killing us. She was out there in a full house. I'll just digress for a second. Avery Fisher Hall in New York, the first Toyota Comedy Festival I produced with Alan King. And she had no act. She had no act. And she just kept F-bombing it and F-bombing it. This was an audience filled with Lincoln Center members. The annual members were there. So we had to get the hook, get Whoopi Goldberg off the stage and replace her with a guy. And we said, can you do 15 minutes? And he said, yeah, I can do 15 minutes. And that guy did an hour and a half, and his name was Buddy Hackett, and the rest is history. But the funny part of that night was David Dinkins, oblivious to Whoopi Goldberg, throwing out machine gun F-bombs to an audience with mink stoles on. Anyway, I digressed, Eric.
No, I mean, it's a fantastic story. I don't know if you have enough to do that as an episode, but it could be pretty cool. Let me go through some super chats real quickly.
Wait, hold on. Are we done with this story about the Liberal Party? I just want to finish one thing.
Oh, go for it. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I believe that he'll replace, I think that's where you were going with this, right?
Yeah. That opened a lane, didn't it?
Yeah, there's a lane. It's not that the Green Party's a lane. None of these lanes mean anything. What means something is the name, the additional name on the ballot. Nobody cares that it says Libertarian or Green. These are people with 100% name recognition. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like people, the reason that they jettisoned Cornel West is you're going to vote for Cornel West no matter where he is on the freaking ballot.
Right. Ballot access too. It's ballot access too, because Green Party's not in every state in the nation. That's Libertarians aren't always in every state in the nation.
Right.
And they don't cross over completely. But between the two, you're covered.
Right. Now they may end up being 3 or 4 times in some ballots. Where you might see RFK on multiple things, Libertarian, Green, and write-in, or maybe Liberal Party. I don't throw them out if they still exist. The Communist Party. I don't know if they still have the Communist Party.
He might not choose that one, but
okay, maybe he'll not choose the Communist Party. But nevertheless, Cornel West might choose the Communist Party.
Probably could.
Okay, I don't know. I mean, but when you think of the environment, you think of RFK, right? Unless you're a climate change ideologue psycho. It's a perfect match for the Green Party.
This is true. Now, to be fair, Barris did say that he felt that Cornel West got out of the Green Party because the Green Party is so unpopular and their support has been down to a trickle over time, that Cornel West saw that he'd probably run better as an independent versus a Green Party because there's a stigma with the Green Party.
I agree. And I also talked to Barris while the polling is still out from his public polling project, which I urge people to donate to at Rich Barris, the People's
Pundit.locals.com. It's the best place to go for that.
I urge people to donate to the polling project because it'll give you the results of what we're talking about. His early summation of what's been going on is that he agrees with me now that RFK will indeed pull votes in the important Rust Belt from Trump, thereby denying him the election of the presidency of the United States, thereby making RFK one of the biggest spoilers in American history, which I can only believe is his goal, because he again has no no route to victory. There's no path for him to victory, and he has no delegates. There's no more delegates. There's no more nomination. There's nothing. It's essentially a write-in candidacy at this point that can only pull votes from Donald Trump in the Rust Belt regions, denying him the presidency of the United States, and thereby giving it to Joe Biden, which I believe is the goal of RFK, for him to roll in 2028 after 4 more years of Biden and say, look at this mess. I can clean it up. You remember me from 4 years ago. There's a feather in my cap because I stopped the hated one. And he will do this. If this succeeds, he will say to Democratic voters, I am the one that stopped the orange man. And that's going to be his claim in 2028. You hear it here first, folks, when he runs for the presidency in an open field, which he should have done from day one. But his strategy, which I believe, in my humble opinion, is to do what I just said. That's his strategy, because he's a logical person. There's no road to victory. There's no delegates. He was denied the nomination, any kind of avenue by the Democratic Party. He refuses to criticize Joe Biden, and he has publicly criticized Donald Trump immensely. The early polling indicates he pulls from Donald Trump. Rich Barris's poll will indicate that also. Barris is now saying that the early returns show that he damages Donald Trump in the all-important Rust Belt working class states. That is the goal, my friends, because he has no other road to victory, only as a spoiler for 2028. I just got to say that. I know it sounds like inside the game or whatever. It's not. It's pragmatic politics 101. This is not complicated. I don't want to hear that, hey, but I like his ideas. Means bullshit. Doesn't mean anything, bro. You have to go out there and vote for a guy. There's only 2 people, and it's Biden and Trump. You may not like either one of them. I don't give a shit. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you like. But I'm going to go home. I'm not going to vote. I'll show you. Eric's explained these guys to me. They want the perfect candidate. And unless you check off every single political issue that they agree with, if you miss one, according to Eric, who explained it to me, you're not going to vote. You'll just say, screw him. I'm not going to vote for that guy. He doesn't agree with me on pork bellies. Okay, that's the end of your country. You happy now? Look, you got to suck it up, even if you don't agree with this guy who they're trying to put in prison. And thanks, super sticker guy.
No, just keep going.
No. I'm just saying, this is the hand that we've been dealt, folks. You may not like the hand. You may not like the beverages that are being served. You may not like the room. This is the hand we've been dealt. Be pragmatic. Stop thinking about yourself. This is not going to go away. This is the edge of the republic right now. This guy wants to run in 2028. You like him? Good. Go fuck yourself. Vote for him in 2028. I may vote for him in 2028. I was an early supporter of this guy until it became apparent what is going on. Then I had to learn more and change my opinion. I know that sounds crazy to some of you to actually look into this thing and change your opinion, but that's what you have to do sometimes as a voter. Stop, saying I'm going to switch parties to vote for him in the primary. Nobody gives a crap about that anymore. It's either the guy they have on trial or this docile, senile guy who said today that the economy is like throwing a dog in the lake, and nobody knew what he was talking about with dog. What lake? By the way, they removed his dog from the White House.
Maybe that's it. Maybe he's talking.
They removed his dog from the White House for breaking the record of all-time biting in the history of dogs. 11 dog bites by his German Shepherd named Commander, which I think is a replacement name for a team out of D.C.
No, I was going to say, is that the new mascot for the team? They're going to do the Mike Tyson to the defense?
The dog's bit 11 people. The dog's been, it's either abused or he's defending a guy who's been abused. One or the other.
Yeah, it's obviously out of hand. And by the way, what I was saying to Mark is that RFK, if you look at his support, he is almost the perfect deep state candidate. Every part of him lines up exactly for union working, Rust Belt, non-college. It's targeting that specific line of Trump that Trump pulled out of his ass to win 2016.
Right.
Nobody
but
expected.
People are saying, well, I don't know he's a deep state candidate. What are they going to do? Take out an ad in the freaking New York Times to tell you he's a deep state candidate? His daughter-in-law worked for the CIA. Really? I didn't know that, Mark. He's married to Bobby III, his beloved son. The other son became a machine gunner killing Russians in the Ukraine, and he was proud of his son who was sending back his credit card bills from the Ukraine. And if you listen to his opening statement when he announces he's running, how much he supports Ukraine in this war against the brutal Russian invaders, and that his son, who he proudly says was machine gunning Russians to death as an illegal soldier of fortune war criminal. I just want to tell you those are the facts. What you do with them is up to you. That's what he said. That's what he did. He never mentions his CIA daughter. And when he got married to his son, I was in shock. And I know people who know both of them, right? And they've told me that Bobby III, his son that married the CIA operative, is dumb as a bag of freaking rocks. Okay, that's the word on the street. I don't know the kid.
Honey trap.
But it reeks like a honey trap. And now this woman is behind enemy lines into the Kennedy world where she can go through their emotional and political files until the cows come home. The CIA, which he claims, rightfully so, killed his uncle and killed his father. Well, that's great. That's great. Now they live in his house. And he embraces it. He endorses it. He says she's great. She works for the freaking CIA. Well, how bad could it be, Mark? How bad could it be? Well, it could be the KGB, I guess. It could be a lot worse, but maybe not.
True.
That's some Thanksgiving, by the way. You have the machine gun killing kid, the CIA operative at the table, passing around the Thanksgiving turkey this year. That's going to be interesting.
Good point. And speaking of Thanksgiving and super chats, Mark, what are your expectations for the new Ridley Scott film, Napoleon? It's being released on November 22nd.
Okay, so of course they put out. I do have an opinion on this because Ridley Scott is Ridley Scott, and
great director.
Look, Ridley Scott could have directed the MLK movie. Somebody of that stature. Ridley Scott. This is not in the theaters, by the way. This is going to be on fucking Apple. Okay, the movie is with Joaquin Phoenix, and they put out saying this is the greatest movie of all time. Joaquin Phoenix is playing Donald Trump. You happy now? That's who they said he's playing. He's playing a Donald Trump character. Yes, that's right, my friend. That's why every studio passed on it. That's why they passed. He's playing a Donald Trump-like character who's Napoleon. Okay?
Why? God.
That's right. Now you got it right, Hunley. There you go.
That's a shame. It's like the fall of a great director.
But those are the facts, my friend. It is a shame. Absolutely. And that's why it's on Apple and not Warner Brothers, not Paramount, not Universal, not a major studio. Because those guys want to make money.
Wow. iHeartPG, opinion of Dr. Robert Epstein. Well, I'll give you a clue.
Go ahead.
He's done God's work on going after social media.
Yeah.
I am currently using StreamYard through a Brave browser because I avoid Chrome as much as I can. That should give you my stance on it. I do care about privacy, and he's very good on that. And his story with Joe Rogan was just terrifying, and what happened to his wife.
Yeah. No, Epstein should get the Nobel Prize in technology. I mean, he should get the Nobel Peace Prize for exposing Google. And I call for the social uprising against Google during the election. They should be surrounded. The headquarters, let them know that you're there. This organization has to be shut down during the election, at least protested against socially at the gates of their headquarters in California. They're going to shove this election into the other camp. It's run by an Indian who's a communist. They will do the same thing they did in the last election, which is to push the vote on the Democratic side, to get out and vote, and neglect to do it on the other side. And Epstein famously said, I don't know how many votes that could move, 5 to 25 million, Eric. I forget the numbers that Epstein came out with his formula on what Google did. But he had been screaming about this for a number of years before he was on Joe Rogan. So Epstein should get the Nobel Prize, and he voted for Hillary Clinton. I mean, he made no bones about being a liberal Democrat. He just said, this is a bridge too far. This is insane. And that's why Epstein is unbelievably an American hero. Anyone on the right can yell about stuff on the right. But when you get a guy like Epstein doing that, that takes some cojones to do that.
Yeah, and then he loses his wife, and he's still doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, that's saying a lot. Okay, hey, Dustin Russell's coming in. Tailing a Tesla on the interstate so I can snake their mobile hotspot internet in order to listen to the show.
That's funny. Is that doable, Dustin? I mean, can you really steal the Wi-Fi signal from a moving Tesla? I didn't know that.
I don't know, but I love the originality.
I remember driving alongside some hippie van so I can listen to their Grateful Dead bootleg recordings on the interstate one time, but that's as close as I could get.
I cannot believe that. You probably could just yell, "Hey, turn it up!"
No, I have. I mean, how many times have you been driving along and somebody in the next vehicle is playing something that you're into, and you're going along with them? You just go, "Oh, that's great," and then they speed off, and that's the end of your automotive concert.
Oh, wait a minute! Breaking news.
Wait a second. I'm just saying, Dustin's coming to Dallas, by the way.
Yes,
he's already bought his ticket,
and he's coming with his father-in-law.
His father-in-law, okay. His father-in-law, from what I understand, is a big fan. And
yes.
I hope he brings his father-in-law. But to everybody else out there, do what Dustin is doing. Get a ticket to come to Dallas before they're sold out, because this is going to sell out, people. I don't know if it's 300 seats or whatever they got going on there, but it's a 3-day JFK conference. It's the Woodstock of JFK conferences. It's 3 days of love, peace, and bullets. You won't miss this. When we did the Lampoon Lemming show, by the way, which is a parody of Woodstock, which we did at the Village Gate, which had John Belushi in it, Chevy Chase, the National Lampoon Lemmings show. If anybody could find that on YouTube,
it's on Locals. I think.
Yeah, I think I found a copy of it that I had. But in there, it was the Woodstock Festival, and they did all the stage announcement. It was very funny. The guy comes out and Christopher Guest is in it doing his brilliant Dylan impersonation. And it's really, the music is worth it. But the guy comes out and says, "Remember, the man next to you is your dinner. So please treat him accordingly." So anyway, the 3-day conference will be our Woodstock regarding the JFK 60th anniversary of the assassination in Dallas. At the Lorenzo Hotel. Get your tickets now. If you can't make it, if you have no legs, let's say there's people with no legs.
Virtual?
You can get the virtual ticket. Or you don't want to get off the couch. You've got a dog that has no legs, let's say. You won't go anywhere without your dog. Okay, I get that. Virtual ticket, third base. Your wife won't let you go. Virtual ticket, third base. There's no reason not to do either the live appearance, and the live appearance, God knows what'll happen there, because there's nightclubs and bars and partying and underground railroads or whatever. But the virtual ticket, at least you could follow at home for 3 days, for the love of God, and see the greatest all-star collection of speakers. These are the top researchers, the guys who've written the best books that I recommend. I'm excited about going to meet all these guys. I've never met like Robert Groden, who wants to have dinner with us the second we land. Huge fan of the show. It's going to be a great meeting of the tribe of people who are in this world. And I'm really looking forward to it. And if you want to meet up, we'll be there. It's a nice hotel. We're in Dallas. What could go wrong? Gunfire? Could be.
By the way, I don't know if this is a selling point, but Leslie, my wife, is not going. And she's pissed now because she looked up the Lorenzo is apparently a Class A super hip avant-garde, one of those new style hotels where they, they've done it up really well.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It used to be something else. It was a hotel before. They completely redid it.
Yeah, and apparently it's like
somebody told me that Tina Turner.
Yes, she
died.
This? Yeah, no, Tina Turner escaped Ike Turner at the Lorenzo. What it was at the time? What it was at the time.
Yeah.
And so there's a dedication to her and everything in it. And she had like a room given to her, etc. when she was escaping Ike Turner. Yeah. It's
The
crazy.
Tina Turner room.
Yeah, it's a crazy story. Oh, it's a Ramada.
I'll be staying in the Trevor Bauer suite located on the 3rd floor. Trevor Bauer now pitching in Japan. One of the great Cy Young winners of baseball, was a Dodger pitcher until he was blackmailed, attempted to be shaken down by a floozy that's now been released. The text messages, he's dropped the lawsuits. He was never charged with anything. The judge in the case said the woman should have a restraining order against herself. He released the text messages of her to her friends saying, I'm going to take this guy down. He's worth $51 million. On and on and on in the text messages. Shows a video of her laying next to him in bed, not a scratch on her. I mean, what a crime against humanity. And his crime was he was a Trump supporter, folks. That's why they went after him here in LA. The second the plane landed, they had their knives out for Trevor Bauer.
Well, it's a real crime that the team, even they weren't going to press charges or anything else. They still tossed him. They still screwed him on the. I mean, we're talking more money than you and I could imagine that he's.
Well, the reason I'm mentioning it is because the Dodgers are playing tomorrow night. And we don't have a starting pitcher because they did the same thing to Julio Urias, the Mexican kid who was about to become a free agent, about to cash in, who's been arrested on a misdemeanor battery charge of a misdemeanor charge, and has been eradicated from the team. They've painted over all of his paintings, all of his murals. Everything is gone. As one of the best pitchers we've ever had. He's just been given the Trevor Bauer treatment. He's completely been 1984'd. They've eliminated any sign of him at Dodger Stadium. And because of that, we don't have a starting pitcher again, because Julio Urias has been deep six by the Dodgers without ever going to trial or charged in the crimes that he was, a misdemeanor charge that he was arrested for. Again, somehow these cases have to get to the Supreme Court. You can't destroy the contract of someone and a guy's livelihood based on a misdemeanor. I'm never convicted of anything, never even charged. Same thing with Bauer. Nothing ever happened with Trevor Bauer.
Yeah, I don't know. It's very sad all the way around.
It's sad if you're a Dodger fan. It's not sad. I'll say that right now.
All right, hey, let me get the breaking news. The New York Appellate Division just stayed the ruling against Trump and has removed the case from the crazy judge, according to a tweet from Eric Trump.
Well, the ruling against Trump, which ruling?
His.
Because they were mentioning the statute of limitations as to.
Right, this is that civil fraud case or whatever in New York, which is. I was arguing with Nate about that earlier today. It's very odd.
This was their Inflategate, what I call it. This is like Inflategate, because this guy, or Deflategate, to quote Tom Brady, this is the judge in the case on his own saying the $350 million Mar-a-Lago with the country club next to it with the golf course is only worth $18 million. Trump paid $10 million for it in 1985. So in 2023, this judge, who has no background in real estate, simply said, I think it's worth $18 million, and Trump has committed fraud by saying, as every realtor in Florida has indicated, it may be worth as high as $400 million. That's the essence of the case, folks. That's the essence of the case, that he's defrauding a bank that is not a complainant in the case.
That's the biggest issue.
There's no defendant. There's nobody complaining except the state. The state itself is going after the opposition candidate. The bank is not complaining. They wanted to give him the money. They gave him the money.
They were paid back 100%.
Yes. With no more than 100. They didn't do it for free.
Well, yeah, the interest. No, that's what I'm saying. They got all their loans, and Letitia James ran on going after him. She ran on this that she was going to do it. I mean, she didn't exactly say I will railroad him, but there's hidden words there.
Well, it's Stalin-esque. I mean, show me the man, I'll find you the crime. That's what she essentially said, because she's a Marxist revolutionary, and she's the Angela Davis of attorney generals.
Wow. All right. Mo Bishop saying, go to RFK Jr. rallies and create havoc. Call them
That's
out.
what I said. I said that last week. People are like freaking out, like it's some sort of illegal thing. I mean, it's not a crime, folks, to go to a rally and heckle the
Raise
speaker.
your hand. Hey,
Yeah.
Joe the
Jesus
plumber.
Christ.
He
I mean,
just
like I'm
died.
asking you to commit commit what is it? When you strap
Harry-Carry.
dynamite on you?
Sabuku.
No. When you strap the dynamite on and
Oh,
what's that called?
terrorism.
Bomb, whatever it is. Okay. Anyway, the point of the matter is make this guy feel what you're saying. Don't give this guy a free ride, bro. Get up in his grill, yell at him, do something. If he says something back, knock yourself out. Who cares? You have every right to stop this guy from taking your country apart by taking votes away from your candidate. You know what I'm saying? Get up in his grill. Go to a thing, disrupt it. I don't mean violently disrupt it.
No,
I mean
ask questions.
Verbally disrupted.
Like Jose Vega.
Dude, would you just watch Jose Vega? For Christ's sake, what is so difficult? You go, well, Mark, I have investments. I have children. Oh, really? Well, you're not going to have them much longer. You think you're going to keep it. You're dreaming, bro. You have to get off your fat ass. I know this sounds impossible to do. You have to get off your fat ass and do something. I know it's outrageous. I know it sounds crazy, but that's what you have to do. There were guys like, even Chomsky, the Berrigan brothers, who got arrested, Dr. Spock, symbolically protesting the war. These people won't even do that. They go, dude, what if they January 6th mean? That's right. How about doing it for those people? How about the reverse? How about showing them some support? Jesus Christ. I mean, you got to go to wherever RFK is and disrupt it. Get up in their grill.
I'm going to jump out of line, but I like this one.
What?
Will the Dallas event be fat bastard friendly?
Well, so it will be. Actually, but let me tell you why. Because if you have the balls to get off your couch and come to Dallas, mad respect for you. Mad respect. It turns out all the planes now had phony contracts. They had about the approval of the machinery of the planes.
I don't need to see that shit. I did not see that.
No. But my father used to be a jet engine mechanic at Kennedy. Used to tell me about this, that once they moved, when these airlines that remember, like Freddie Laker had an airlines, even Trump had an airlines, all those original Fare Saver airlines, my dad told me they would do the maintenance in like third world countries and to be suspect of the maintenance reports. That's what this was. Phony maintenance reports on the machinery they were putting in there into the engines. They'll take these planes offline and fix them. They will. But you have to be vigilant as to where these parts are coming from, and also the maintenance of the planes when they're down. That's what my dad said. If they would ship them out to non-union places, not to promote the union or anything, but they would ship them out to Costa Rica to do maintenance, and it's a little suspect. And then they ship them back to New York or LA or wherever they came out of. But yeah, this is a scandal. But the reality of it is, you are fat bastard proof if you come to Dallas.
And on the bargain airlines, how many of you fly on AirTran? That hasn't always been their name.
AirTran, is that still around?
AirTran, you know who AirTran was?
No.
ValueJet.
Okay, but what happened to ValueJet?
ValueJet's the one that went down in Florida with all the passengers eaten by the alligators.
Oh, that's bad.
It was like, okay, yeah, change your name. Good idea.
I like how they cover up the name when there's a crash site. They have a guy who speeds to the site just to cover up the name, because there's going to be so many pieces of film footage about that ValueJet or AirTran. I thought AirTran was the plane that they took the trannies on, to different strip clubs. I didn't know that. And that was a real thing. AirTran, I thought was the tranny airlines.
Yeah, no, ValueJet, I want to say it was in the 90s, late 90s, but yeah, it was bad. It was right. A bad one. All right, Pasha, though, loyal supporter. Hopefully Pasha can get down there. He's sitting at a car dealer now, grinding through the interminable process. Have to watch this later. But at least we may get a car out of the deal.
Oh, I see. Okay, so you're buying a car. I know, dude. I'm putting this off, too. I'm completely triggered by going in there with a bunch of crazy salespeople. I may have to do Carvana something, if anybody has an experience with the Carvana thing, or, because I just don't want to be hammered by car salesmen.
Yeah. No,
It's I mean, it's a little brutal.
you know what's sad is there was a company that was actually really good, and my wife, Leslie, got her cars there, multiple, and it was Saturn. And what she loved about it was, this is the price. You walk in, the sticker price was the price. There was no negotiation, none of that BS.
Yeah.
It was just you looked it up, everything. Price is the price. You go in, go out. So they got rid of it in 2008.
Was it? Yeah, it was a subscription service, right?
No, it was just a dealership, but that was their MO.
Right.
It was a sticker
There was
price.
no wiggle room. There was no wiggle room. You got to be able to handle.
Yeah.
You know what I heard, which was interesting? In the entire first quarter, Ford sold only 2 electric Hummers. 2.
Okay. What a crazy ass car. Well, wait a minute. Hummers or GM?
Okay, so GM sold only 2 electric Hummers in the first quarter of 2023.
Oh, I can believe that. It's the craziest concept in the world.
No. The fact that there's 360 million and they only sold 2 cars is the concept that's crazy. With all the benefits, tax breaks, everything else. I mean, they're freaking out now about these electric cars. There's tens of thousands of them on the lot. Today they came out with a $7,500 tax break to Americans to buy these pieces of shit. And the auto industry is having it rammed down their throats, and they don't want any part of it, Eric. And they leaked out the Hummer sales to show the freak out that they're going through.
Yeah, well, okay. The reason why I was saying that's an odd one is if you said that the Prius plug-in only 2 sold, I would be like, oh my God. But Hummer's such a weird.
So this is a car. The Prius is a luxury car, just like a Tesla would be. It's a specialty car. They weren't expecting to sell 2. When they built them. I mean, the Prius kind of sells itself. But the Hummer, because they're trying to show you they need the high end market to make. They're not going to make it on VW bugs. They're going to make it on the high end, and they couldn't move these 2. They moved 2 cars in 1 quarter. I thought that was a great statistic.
Well, we'll see what happens to the Cybertruck, because that's the one that we're really waiting on.
That's the next one.
Which is the oddest damn looking thing. I personally think it's ugly, but I have to say it's bold. So it's one of those that might be ugly to me, but it could be different enough that people will go for it. I'm not sure. I won't be, but many do. Let me see. John's channel. Loving your hard work, Eric. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Mark, what's this weekend's movie? A line from Via's for Vendetta is most apt for our world's current predicament.
No.
The multiplying villainies of nature do swarm and descend upon us. Loving the show.
I'm going to go with Les Mis, the movie version of Les Mis, and I'll tell you why. First of all, Hugh Jackman's amazing, and what's his name from Australia?
Hugh Jackman?
No. Who plays Gladiator, the star of speaking
Russell
Crowe plays the villain in it, and Les Mis, the product. I hadn't seen this since I had a screener of it. We're watching it because a friend of mine went to see the production, which was down in Orange County. They had a live production of it down there. So I said, I think I got this movie. I never watched it. So we watched it. It was great. The movie version of Les Mis, which has a lot of stars in it. And it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. However, the reason I thought it was also the movie of the week is because what happened in London this week, where they staged, again, Les Mis must be touring, because they staged a big production of Les Mis, which was taken over in the middle of the show by climate change activists with banners who stormed the stage during the French Revolution scene at the barricades in Les Mis. And they had to shut down the entire production with people booing and yelling at them for taking it over and getting on stage with banners. So the movie choice of the week is Les Miserables.
All right, fair enough. DCFC plans 2005. You guys are the best, just the facts, solid analysis, and no BS. Well, we BS a little bit.
I'm not BS. I'm just telling you these stories that I know. I don't give a shit if you buy into them or not. I would tell Hunley these stories anyway if you weren't even on air.
By the way, that was the generation of the show. How many phone calls did we have before we ever recorded?
Right. I mean, I don't know. I just talked to this guy. He talks back. We have a conversation. Then we said, hey, it's a show. Let's go. I mean, I don't care if you believe us or not. It doesn't really faze me. I'm just giving you my opinion. If I tell you a story about Whoopi Goldberg being on the stage at Lincoln Center, you could take that to the bank.
All right. Tommy Bridges, comment, isn't it interesting that LBJ traveled 40 cases of Doers, a product that Joseph Kennedy was a distributor for in the USA? Some revenge?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that makes sense. That really makes a lot of sense. First of all, sometimes it was white label Doers, sometimes it was J&B. The reality of it is it's far more than 40 cases. Sometimes it was 140 cases if he was going. Oh, yeah. And his king-size bed, which was dismantled and flown on Air Force Two, plus all his other mumbo-jumbo. He had the cigarette lighters with his name on it, where he'd famously say, "Yeah, don't leave that in a whorehouse, boy. It's got my name on it." And he said that to everyone, you know. But the reality of it is, it has nothing to do with Joseph Kennedy, nothing to do with revenge at all. The fact of the matter is he was a total alcoholic, and the country suffered immensely because of his alcoholism, giving away, creating these social programs that were really designed by the publisher of the Washington Post, who came up with the whole, his version of FDR's giveaways. He came up with the LBJ programs, and then he blew his own head off with a shotgun. The publisher of the Washington Post, Phil Graham, I'm talking about. He was the chief advisor to LBJ, and came up with the Great Society program to mimic the what was FDR's program called? Oh God. Anyway,
ask me any other time. Yeah,
Great Society. It was coined by Phil Graham, and LBJ was aghast when Phil Graham came up with all these programs. For
New Deal. Thank you.
Okay, well, the Great Society was LBJ's version of New Deal because he worshipped FDR. And Phil Graham said, okay, here's what you got to do. You got to create this. You got to create that. You got to do this. You got to give away that. And LBJ said, God damn, you're making me into some kind of a liberale. And he said, I ain't that liberal. And he said, sir, this is a Democratic Party. This is what you're going to have to do. And he did do it. And he did most. Thank you. Good job, boys. So, but he needed 140 cases of scotch to do it. And, you know, he would get drunk at night, run around the White House naked, yelling the N-word at some of the black servants there. How do we know that? Because the lead butler wrote a memoir. And in the memoir, he discusses a drunken, naked LBJ running around the White House at night, yelling the N-word at him. This is not stuff that's that I'm making up, people. This is stuff that's been written, vetted by lawyers, and published. Not that every book is true, but at least they go through a legal vetting process before a major publisher will release them. Anyway, he needed all of that alcohol to hold on for a second.
Yep. Enjoy.
Hold on.
Let me get some Rumble rants while Mark is determining if the CIA has come to his door. Tommy Jekyll sent one. Actually, I'm going to go the other way here. First off, Bob 1961 sent $5 to help subsidize our demonetization, which we thank you very much. No Sniper in the Nest. Will you guys know before you get to Dallas how many AUS fans will be there? Yes, we are getting reports on how many tickets have been sold. And it's dozens of tickets. So there's going to be a lot of AUS fans.
Hell or high water, I think we're going to take over the event and run.
It's over 50.
Yeah, we're gonna get to 200. But we got a month to do this, so I assume we're going to pull it off. And the other presentations are going to be really fascinating. So it's not just us. I mean, you're talking about all of the all-star people of the genre are going to be speaking and presenting there, and that's worth it. Dude, even if we weren't going, I would go for the other people.
And by the way, not only the people presenting, but I guarantee there'll be researchers there who aren't presenting, but they're in the crowd that you can learn from too.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, I would do that.
There's going to be so many.
And there's a discount on the hotel, and there's discounts on the tickets.
All in the descriptions on YouTube and
they
Rumble.
Keep asking me, where do you keep these? They're hidden. You know, it's like a fortune cookie. You can't really find it. I think it's right below the video. If you look,
It's right below the description. I have
hide it down there below the video.
Explosion, like a little explosion mark in another one with the information tucked right in between on Rumble and YouTube. You could check it out. Put it up a bunch on locals too. I'll always, if you ask, I'll tell you every time. Happy to. And yes, it's Untold 15. That's
that's Untold. Don't tell anybody this, bro. I mean, we don't want to be inundated with these people. I think Viva is going to come, so we might get some cross-pollination from the Viva Barnes crowd because they're into it as well. So hopefully they'll show up in force wearing their swag versus our swag. I want to see them wearing the Viva stuff versus the Hunley stuff. It'll be a lot of fun. Right, what other stories you got back there? In your
swag war. Let me knock out 3 more Rumble rants.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. Pete Zaw sent us $20 as Rumble rant. Thank you. Krabby T Girth said, "American Untold Stories #1. Me love you long time."
That's funny.
And Tommy Jekyll said, "I'm only on my 10,000th AUS stream. Here's $10. Viva says you get all the goodies till the end of the year. But what does he know? Thanks for all your toil."
Okay, so what are we at? Like 9? How many subscriptions do we have now, in your opinion?
At this exact point, I am refreshing the screen, and it is 99,157.
Okay, so even that increased while we were on air, I guess. So yeah.
Get
another.
There's 3,207 people watching. You can't all be subscribed, but you could be. Those are YouTube numbers.
I think there's people who are not subscribed who are watching the show.
I think the odds are good.
Who are freeloaders, and I despise them. Oh, here's an alert. Here's an alert.
I definitely recommend it. So yeah, let me jump back on stories for a little bit, and then we'll go to locals tips. But I pulled this one myself because I think it's hilarious.
Okay. Well,
they had a esports because they're trying to get women into esports, and so they had this thing called a game changer competition for women. Only problem, only one actual biological female won. Only one girl game, one actual female gamer. Every other person was a quote non-binary. Folks, are you getting tired of this yet? I mean, we're getting that all the time too. How many women of the months have you noticed that lately?
What
have you noticed that lately? Women of the month.
What's women?
And it's trans. Month? Well, they'll have like women of the month, and it's somebody who's trans, or Women's History Month, and be somebody trans who's being featured.
Right.
The gamer thing for women, there's one actual female. Everyone else is non-binary.
Very strange.
Well, dude, I mean, it's competition. It's a way to get money.
Oh, right. Yeah.
I mean, what do people expect? And I find it sad. And it's like, if you let them keep doing this, it's going to keep getting worse. Now, this one I brought up and brought forward because you talked about it with Rob Reiner.
I talked about with Rob Reiner?
Yes, Rob Reiner and CIA having the social media accounts.
Oh, yeah.
And you use this as a historical example that Moby had claimed that that's exactly what they did to him.
He didn't claim it. He was bragging about it. And what I ran into Moby a couple of times here in where I live. And Moby, this is at the time I ran into him. He was on a radio show and he was bragging. I guess this was when Trump got elected. He was bragging on the radio show how he turned over his entire social media account to the CIA. That way, they could tweet, and it's not to get the names of all the people they don't give a shit about who follows Moby. It's about having millions and millions of names that they could reach under the name of Moby as influencers. So the Moby fans thought that Moby was talking to them about Donald J. Trump. He wasn't. This was the CIA. And this Scott Adams, who is a contrarian as far as I know, explained this about Rob Reiner the other day, that some intel guy pointed out to him about Rob Reiner turning over his social media account to the CIA. So
yeah,
they
Mike
could,
Benz.
Mike Benz, who was a really brilliant intel analyst, by the way. Mike Benz Cyber, I think, at Mike Benz Cyber, BENZ is his Twitter handle. So Mike Benz Cyber believes that Rob Reiner, who for 24/7 for 4.5 to 6 years has been tweeting nonstop insane things about DJT. That's not possible, as Ben's pointed out. Now, they're going to force him to do their bidding, this fat bastard, Rob Reiner, who lives in Santa Monica, who would rather not get off of his couch. But because he has sold his soul to the deep state, he is being forced to go to Pittsburgh to speak about the Kennedy assassination. Okay? That's because they own this fat bastard. And I'm sure he was kicking and screaming like a baby. The last thing that Meathead wants to do is go to some fakakta conference in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, to talk about the Kennedy assassination. But that's what they make you do, folks, when they own you. There's another fat fuck who's going to be with him right before him named Alec Baldwin. Combined, these two guys know about as much about the Kennedy assassination as the late Pee Wee Herman knew, which is zero.
And there we go. Now, back to some more depressing news. Hillary was talking about re-education and everything else. She doesn't even have to bother. The FBI is not even hiding the ball. They're now just targeting MAGA directly.
Oh, yeah. They're going to go after them and at least put the fear of God into them that they are targets. This is to prevent people from going to his rallies, which is what they want to do, spreading the word, an intimidation of fear, a dark, net on top of them. I doubt if anyone's going to be arrested for, being MAGA. What they want to do is intimidate. They want to put you back on your heels, folks. And the only way to get you back from being back on your heels is to replace the guy that's in that building. There's only one way, and that's to replace him a year from now from that building. And that means, what we're hearing is, according to the Washington Post, that Trump has a 10-point lead. This lead needs to be expanded to where it's beyond, as Richard Barra says, beyond the margin of fraud. That's where we have to go. This happened with Nixon, where he won 49 states in one of the biggest landslides in American history because the American people had it. There was no law and order in the country. 67 cities were on fire. The place was going haywire. And finally, they said, look, we may not like this guy, but something's got to give here. We can't keep going. And the Democrats don't even want this guy. You read the polling, they don't even want the guy who's in there because they know, but they can't do anything. They can't replace the guy that's in there because the machine itself is impervious to Democratic polling and Democratic voting. They would rather have anybody but Biden. ABB. Is that ABB? Anybody but Biden. ABBB. They would rather have ABBB, but they can't do it. They can't do it because they know how fragile the situation is with this cat. But they're stuck also. The reality of it is the entire country's stuck. So the only way to change this thing is if people drift over from their side over to our side, because voting for RFK is not going to do it. Voting for a spoiler, and I have to use the word spoiler as often as humanly possible, so it sinks into the consciousness of the American people that a spoiler is what RFK is. The two words have to be linked together. This is not the year for a protest vote or a spoiler. It's not going to change anything. And if you thought 4 years of Biden were repressive, wait till you see the unrecallable post-election Biden team for 4 more years. You think repression happened for the first 4? You haven't seen anything like it until this guy is reelected and the voters can't recall him. You should be scared to death that this guy will have unchecked, unlimited power with his cabal if he gets reelected.
I had to pull this up. This is just
Right.
a side note. This show has turned into QAnon.
That's funny.
When have we ever?
Where do they live? I want to know where QAnon's headquarters are. And I've said this about the white supremacists too. Where do they live? Where's their magazine? Where's their office? Where do they live? Where do they go? Where's the membership? Where's the dues? Why isn't the IRS able to find their money trail? They don't exist, people. This is stuff created by the left, again, to put you back on your heels. There is no QAnon. There is no white supremacist headquarters. The guys bought tiki torches in Target near Charlottesville, and they were government agents, just like the people that keep showing up in these obvious government SS or whatever things they're doing, these random protests. Right, Eric? How many times have we seen these guys get into a van and drive away after these bizarre pseudo right-wing protests? It's really funny. It's really funny to watch. But that being said, more power to QAnon.
All right, so this one's going to be a departure. Let's talk about pirates.
Oh yeah, I want to talk about pirates because this is new. This thing is really getting creepy. Okay, so these cats have stolen this. You can't make this up. You can't make this up. These black cats out of Oakland, gang guys, have stolen motorboats from the docks. Okay, well, that's crazy. That they're seafaring gang members is crazy by itself. These are urban guerrillas, essentially. They've now gone seafaring mad. They're stealing boats and then coming up to regular boats, people's, pleasure cruises, and robbing them at gunpoint as pirates on the high seas in the bay of San Francisco, right in back of the Giants baseball stadium. This one is the funniest story of the week.
Honestly, I'm kind of surprised it took this long.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because there's a lot of ways to, get away and to hide out. I'm kind of surprised.
The average ghetto gangbanger is not really seaworthy, Eric. I mean, it takes a certain amount of skill to navigate a boat to go out. I mean, come on. They could barely steal a car anymore because they don't have the skill to hotwire a car, which has led to carjacking at gunpoint at the gas station because the old criminal had the ability to hotwire a car and steal it in the middle of the night. When was the last time you've heard about that? How about 10 years? Okay, what they do, the reason they're carjacking cars is because they don't know how to hotwire a car and the car's got the keys in it. It's the same thing with a boat. How they're stealing these motorboats or ships to go out into the sea to pirate the wealthy in other pleasure boats is an amazing story.
I can't help but think about that. You're talking about the carjacking because the keys in the car.
Mm-hmm.
And so many cars have key fobs now and they're keyless. There's a start button.
Right.
I can only imagine, though, that some dumbass will go to take it. The owner's out of the car with the key fob in the pocket, and then the car drives far enough away from the key and stalls out because the keys out.
I haven't seen that, but the reason they come up in your grill at the gas station is because the engine's running and they're able to steal the car. Plus, they roll up with an extra driver, and you're out of the car, so the guns come out. But the point I'm trying to make is the old car thief at least had some skill. See the movie Thief. There's a bunch of great movies.
Sure, Gone in 60 Seconds.
Yeah, there's a bunch of great movies about car thieves, and they don't have any resonance anymore because now it's a gun in the face. Get out, leave the engine running, and fill up the tank. So,
well, the technology has made it a lot freaking harder too. Now, it's not just a lack of skills, but it's not like grab two wires and tap them together.
Doesn't stop them from stealing your catalytic converter in the middle of the night with a jack and an Indianapolis 500 pit crew coming under every single vehicle in LA to take your catalytic converter and then selling it. There's so many people waiting to get serviced for catalytic converters. There's just so you know, again, reporting from the streets. there's now a sub-industry of people who've been victimized by catalytic converter thieves that are going to garages that are not installing catalytic converters, but jerry-rigging your system so you can drive without the catalytic converter.
Yeah, because it costs like $3,000-$4,000 to get in the damn car. They're super.
And there's now bootleg garages, and there's a waiting list to get into the underground garage to do the illegal catalytic converter conversion.
Yeah, I believe it.
You can't make this up.
And the same garage does fake state inspections too, I bet. Let me get some tips here. Bob's Your Horse said RFK Jr. is speaking at CPAC.
Okay.
That would be a huge turnoff for any Democrat thinking of voting for him. Am I too cynical thinking that that's maybe what RFK Jr.'s goal? Attract Trump voters, repulse Biden voters?
Really? That
sounds
shocking.
like.
Speaking at CPAC, what possible voter can be? How many Biden supporters will he be swaying at CPAC to all those people who still believe that he's going to take from Biden? Give me a fucking break. At one point, they're just going to show you the Trojan horse that this cat is, pull back the curtain, and there's going to be the little miniature wizard looking like Danny DeVito. Come on, people.
Yep. And he says, sounds like the RFK Jr. insider Rich Bear spoke to might be right. Yeah. Big Bad Teddy said, congratulations on today's YouTube demonetization, fellows. Leachum said, did not throw his medals, threw another veteran's medals.
That's right.
This veteran refers to.
So he claims. I'm sorry, go on.
No, this veteran refers to said senator is that effing a-hole. Okay. Oh, good. Commonwealth man said, Eric, you recommended Mundo's adrenaline injection coffee and really don't need cream. It's dark and so much smooth. I just added butter and coconut oil. Delicious.
What?
Thank you.
Coconut
Love you both.
What? You mean like suntan coconut oil?
No, coconut oil. It's
what's coconut oil? What is that? A drink?
No, coconut oil, like for cooking. People will put in butter or coconut oil. It's part of the paleo type of diet.
Paleo diet. Whoa.
Yeah, paleo or keto. You've heard of keto, right?
Yeah, he was the sidekick for the Green Hornet.
That was Cato, but yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. I take
that. Before he died, yes, Bruce Lee. AG Main, who is Alan, who we met at the VIP, and I believe Alan will be in Dallas too, said that you are 100% correct on RFK Jr.
Thank you, Alan. Thank you. What? Not me. It's just obvious. I'm not Nostradamus, folks. It's just obvious what it is.
Not everybody sees it. Anyway, Guilty as Jumbo, aka Alex, said Eric's shirt is Mr. Blue Sky and Mark is one badass beetle. Can't wait to see America's Untold in Dallas. Oh, Alex is coming.
I wear this shirt for things that bug me. This is my things that bug me shirt.
Okay, well, there you go. It's active. Raga sent in a tip. So glad to hear someone with an online presence say we need to put direct pressure on Google instead of just bitching about while on YouTube.
Yeah, no, we got to get physically up there. I know this is hard. I know most of you people have prosthetic legs. If you have prosthetic legs, I'm not talking about you, obviously. But we need to physically get up there and make a media circus out of it. Make them walk a gauntlet of shame, the executives who work there. Make them hear you and protest. And I'm talking about weeks and weeks and weeks before the election, not the night before, people.
And he continues, by the way, sent $50 to the book club. Who Paid the Piper isn't a JFK book, but it's a real doozy for people interested in the CIA's west-facing PSYOP roots. And then last one is, Mark, have you seen the movie Destroyer? I think Nicole Kidman's performance was great.
I have not. I don't know about Nicole Kidman's performance, but she's married to Keith Urban.
Yes.
The Australian country singer. My friend Brad Rice was his guitar player out of North Carolina. So I am privy to some things about those two.
Yeah, she traded out of the Scientology with Tom Cruise to Keith Urban.
I mean, Keith Urban's a good guy. I mean, he likes country. There's a lot of Australian country. I think, what's his name had a band down there? Russell Crowe had a kind of a country rock band for a while.
Probably. I don't know. John P.S. Trump can win by a huge margin, but they will win with the same shenanigans and no one cares. It's in our face. Trump can win by a huge margin, but then they will win with, okay, the same statement. That's where RFK comes in, folks, in my opinion, is Trump's polling was beyond the margin of fraud.
Right.
All of a sudden, RFK, within one freaking week of that poll, switches to independent and watched it narrow. And then all of a sudden, it's back to the margin of fraud.
Yeah. That's his job.
And then breaking is going to speak at CPAC, which is just crazy.
That's insane. The fact that CPAC would allow that to happen shows you how many rhinos are running that freaking.
Of course. Yeah. Great show.
Where do they have this thing, the CPAC thing? Where is that?
I don't know where it is this year.
Oh, okay. Berries, right?
I think so. It might be in the DC area.
Let's get down there and bust this fucking place up, bro. I mean, this is enough already. This is enough. Your country's at stake here. It's not a game anymore.
Yeah, I wonder what Barnes will say about RFK.
It's not a college seminar. I don't want to hear about his opinions on abortion. I don't want to hear his opinions on how great the Ukraine war is. I don't want to hear his opinions about the climate or anything else.
All right. Mary S., great show as always. Hello from Cork, Ireland. Hello, Ireland. Thank you. Speaking of country, there's a lot of a country influence, I feel, in Ireland, too.
Musically, you talking about?
Yeah.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
Al Gonzalez, Buddy Hackett and I lived in the same New Jersey
town. We lived together in the same house in New Jersey. Hackett stole all the toilet paper and he ate everything all freaking night.
Hold on. This is better here. He gave me a lift home after I caddied for him as a teenager.
Oh, very good.
Good man.
Hackett.
Also caddied for Sammy Davis.
This guy's a professional caddy. What is he in the movie, The Caddy?
I guess, but that's pretty cool.
Corbett Monica, that's a Rocky Graciano.
Yeah.
It's great names of caddying history.
Joey Bishop, dude.
There's a book, Al, right? This is a book. I'm telling you. You put in some photos and some stories. You got a book. This makes its own sauce. This makes its own sauce.
Yeah, no kidding. Carl Burkhalter, Biden is in greater danger than Trump. Don't expect him to survive a year.
What kind of danger is that? He's had a life. I mean, if he dies, he dies. That's not danger. I mean, if he dies in the office of the president, I mean, he's going to die somewhere. You know, I mean, how long can the guy live?
True. JM, when you guys hit the gulag, look me up. I'm learning how to make a still using potato scraps.
They're not going to have any potato scraps in the gulag, bro. That's your fantasy.
That's the upgraded.
That's the upgrade. Gulag Plus, which is on Hulu.
Let me see. I'm a bit late, but did you hear Hillary? Yes, I did hear her, and I played that clip actually on the show tonight. So thank you very much.
It's not even.
I'm not your buddy guy.
Not even comical, folks. They have plans to do all this. Yeah. You're dreaming if you think this is a joke. It's not a joke anymore. I mean, there's people, you know, making jokes about it, but it's not a joke anymore.
Yep, totally agree. What do you think of the late Jim Marrs work?
He had a good book on Crossfire. I mean, it's a good book. You know, I don't know. He got into UFOs, but the book is well researched. He was good making a presentation. You know, a good storyteller. And the book, half of the book was the book optioned by Oliver Stone for JFK. The other half was Garrison's autobiography, Trail of the Assassin. So it was both Marrs and Garrison's books that were the foundation for the movie and the script.
Okay. Just got here. Have people, Barnes et al. Started to realize that RFK is obviously Bernie Chomsky 2.0? Not yet. We're getting there.
Not yet, but I mean, it will come to fruition once we shut down CPAC, the CPAC 2, the Revenge.
Al Gonzalez is saying Mar-a-Lago dwarfs hypocrite Stern's house just down the road. If Mar-a-Lago is worth $16 million, then is Stern's house worth only a fraction of that?
That's funny. That's a good question. I mean, Viva was talking about how him and Marion were driving around Googling the costs of the homes they were passing by, I assume around Palm Beach, where I will be going in a couple of weeks to meet up with Viva and some, I don't know. He usually gets those huge chunks of meat, Eric, to grill, and then
he's got that butcher.
He's got that butcher, and then he's going to schlep me on a fishing boat to catch freaking whales or something off the coast of Palm Beach.
Oh, he got you this time.
Oh no, yeah, I got to go. I mean, there's no doubt about it. So I have to do that. I'll be reporting live from Palm Beach in a couple of weeks with Viva, so that'll be funny.
All right. Lynn Bleckstein. My blues hero of the week is Blind Willie McTell. Who's yours, Mark?
Look, I would go with Blind Willie McTell. I agree. Right here.
Okay, well,
no, I agree with the guy. I would go with Blind Willie McTell. I mean, sung about by Bob Dylan, and the band did a cover of it, and legendary guy.
All right, Monica West. Can't wait to be able to listen from the beginning. I can't wait.
The show?
I guess.
Okay. Well,
maybe joining in late. John S. Here's to you reaching 100,000 subscribers before the November 22nd from one of Mark's fat bastards in the UK. I hope we don't have to wait that long, folks. Come on.
Let me tell you something. We have a lot of followers in the UK, and it's not that, it's obviously we broke away from them a number of years ago, but I support these people who are conservatives in the UK. They are up against the shitstorm of Orwellian stuff that no nation has ever gone through that was a democracy. So I really support the people who support us. And if you can't physically get to Dallas, I completely understand, but at least go virtual on this thing, and you can download it according to Eric and keep it forever.
Yeah, they have that version too. They have a virtual, you can just watch within a time. Then there's an option to download. And I think a lot of people who attend it might buy the downloads. That's pretty common too. So they can take it home.
Right. So you can keep it and watch all the other performers, quote unquote.
Yeah, I know I'll buy the download, partly because I won't be able to see everything.
Oh, right.
So, so it's like I can catch up.
Right,
later.
but we're going to interview these other cats too, and use that as material for later shows.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
All right.
And by the way, England is our number 2 audience.
Really? Number 2?
Over Canada, which is
interesting. Well, it's interesting because England is the second largest arms dealer in the world, a distant second to the United States, but tied for second, with Russia.
Yep. Control versus chaos. Get smart. Who came up with that?
Well, obviously, Mel Brooks and Woody Allen and those writers. I mean, the staff for Get Smart was unbelievable. The writing staff was insane. Well,
it was CIA, KGB, just rewritten for that.
The show itself, Get Smart, which was unbelievable. We need the cone of silence, Chief. The cone of silence. Control regulations say we must use the cone of silence. Max, this cone of silence never works. But Chief, the regulations say, and he goes, down the cone of silence doesn't work. One of the great bits of all time.
I used to,
Don Adams, by the way, Don Adams.
I used to actually record that on the television during the day with the repeats. Yeah. And then at night I would listen to the recording back to hear the dialogue again as a kid. Right.
Just brilliant writing by Mel Brooks.
Sergeant Willie, the best anti-theft device. Okay, this is good.
That's funny.
This is funny. The best anti-theft device nowadays is to drive a stick shift.
That's funny. That's funny. When I was about 15, my father had a Volvo. We had 2 Volvos. Stick shift, the rounded Volvos he got from Sweden, and he had them shipped back. And I don't know, they went for a vacation, and me and my friends packed into this stick shift Volvo, and we completely stripped it to ribbons. Smoke was coming out of the gearbox. We pushed it back to my parents' driveway and made believe that someone had stolen it. It was a sad state of affairs. I eventually had to confess and was beaten unmercifully for days.
Yeah, I knew a guy way back in the day. I don't remember his name, but I remember the story. He had a cutoff valve installed in the car, where every time he got out and parked, for the night, he would flip the valve off. It was hidden, and then his car got stolen over and over and over again. But they would never make it more than an eighth of a mile. So we'd always just say the car's gone, and go walk and go find it, retrieve it, turn on the cutoff valve, and then drive home. He lived in a really bad neighborhood.
Wow.
So I thought that was kind of a clever means. He also,
I used to have a thing called blowjack for anybody who stole my blow. which I try to market, but to no avail. It didn't work. Like the Groubert anti-theft device of the doors, they seem to not be buying those much anymore. Although I was just at Target in Hollywood, and they have armed guards everywhere now with guns.
Good.
Yeah.
Kias and Hyundais are stolen because there's a stupid cylinder in the ignition that can be turned with a USB plug.
That's it. That's
no
it.
skill required. So stupid.
Thank you. That was great. Wow.
And carjackings plummeted too, by the way, in the area. Taurus Girl, can you please address the Antifa guy and his girlfriend that effed around and found out in Brooklyn on Monday?
Yeah, he's out there 4:00 in the morning on Flatbush Avenue, thinking he's at some sort of a Coachella event with his girlfriend, and they rule the streets at that time in Brooklyn. I mean, the guy was out of his mind. He was thinking like an Antifa guy.
Hey, bro.
Yeah, he was in some Antifa fantasy. I mean, they caught the kid. He's 18. You know, he'll do 20 years or 17. What difference does it make? The guy's dead. A lot of difference going to make to this savage animal who's just roaming the streets 4:00 in the morning with a knife. There's nobody who's going to stop this guy. And he just started hacking this guy to pieces. It wasn't even a homeless guy. He was an 18-year-old kid.
Yeah. I mean,
it's their streets, my friend. And Antifa kept saying it. But this kid thought he was part of some group that ran the streets of Antifa. And it's not him. It's, ghetto-less black kids who have no fathers, who are just savages out there.
Yeah, almost karma. All right. Bernie Borowski. Or Borowski, I don't know. Keep up the great work, fellows. I think just from watching your podcast, I have a pretty clear idea who killed JFK, or at least who is responsible.
Okay. Well, why don't you come to Dallas and tell us personally?
How
about that? Why don't you get in a car and drive to Dallas, or take a train or a plane, or one of those planes that they're fixing up on United, and you can tell us, because you're not telling us here. You can tell us in person. Or virtually. That would be good. You should definitely get involved, though, Borowski. You sound like the kind of guy who would be perfect for that event.
All right. Please get involved in stopping the invasion. Start by calling politicians daily.
That's helpful. That's pretty helpful. How about putting pressure on Abbott to send the National Guard of Texas down to their border? How about, if that doesn't work, I beg you to see the clip of Curtis Sliwa, the founder of the Guardian Angels, getting up into the police grill in Staten Island when they were trying to unload the African migrants onto Staten Island. How Curtis Sliwa was there throwing his body with his men and the residents of Staten Island against the police of New York, who obviously didn't have their heart in it. They were just following orders to dump these migrants there in Staten Island.
And shaming the shit out of them too.
The age of calling your politician are over. It's done. It's time to physically get off your fat ass, get off your couch, and say, where can I go? What can I do? There's no time left to call your politician, bro. Those days are long gone.
Totally agree. Hey, on a cheerful note, Piers Lord Phillips, Russell Crowe's band rejoiced in the name 30-odd foot of grunt.
Yeah.
A reference to the average height of its 5 members.
I didn't know that.
Saw them a couple of times and they were pretty good.
Yeah, I saw some recordings of them, heard some recordings. They were very good. I never understood what the band name meant. It was one of the strangest names of a rock band of all time. But now I don't think that would apply to Russell Crowe, who's been inflated like the Hindenburg, and did a movie with a friend of mine named Shane Black, and literally, I'll just tell you this story that he did a movie with Ryan Gosling, the other guys, I think it was called, whatever they were called.
Cop buddy movie.
No. Well, no, they were private detectives. It was Shane makes these dark comedies, but. Anyway, Shane built an office for him as a private eye as part of the movie. And the set was designed by a guy. And he goes to the set one day. It's supposed to be the office. And he goes, this is too small. I can't use this. And he goes, what do you mean? He says, it took us weeks to build this office. He goes, it's too small. And what he meant was he would seem too fat in the office. And Shane finally got it and rebuilt the office bigger to make him seem smaller. Now, that's Hollywood, my friends, and that's how it works.
Wow, amazing.
Russell Crowe also famously said, "Is this a drinking movie or a non-drinking movie?" for himself. And Shane said, "A non-drinking movie." And he goes, "All right, mate."
Kiki Ray, things seem insane now. When you were younger, did you think the youth/government was this out of hand? Like, is it POV, or are we really live in a clown world?
Well, I mean, keep in mind, I grew up during the time of the Nixon impeachment. That's when I graduated from high school. So I thought everything was coming apart at the seams. I mean, you had Agnew arrested, taken out in handcuffs. You had Nixon on a helicopter flying away. I mean, we were graduating from high school, and I thought, what is the point of going to college? I really did. I said, it looks like the whole government is collapsing. And a lot of my friends felt that way too, that there was no point in pursuing higher education because the fabric and the foundation of our society was being removed beneath our feet when I was a senior in high school about to go to college.
Yeah. Well, I think it comes up and down in, stages too.
Mm-hmm.
Like my favorite thing is, it may come up, Angela Davis having to lose a presidential election with Ronald Reagan being the winner.
We're going to get into that a little short. I don't want to give it away, but
no.
We're going to get into that shortly. I'll just tell you that.
Soltron, hero. I will not shower until America's Untold Stories reaches 100,000 subs.
Boy, that might literally be hours, Soltron. I don't know if you could make it. I mean,
I won't be in the room.
That might be a couple of hours, Soltron, if everything plays out. Soltron, he's a guy who prides himself on taking 5 showers a day. So,
and thank you, Soltron. Mark is the best dressed man. Thank you, Greg.
Between the two of us, probably, yeah, that's probably a given.
Okay.
I don't know about in Hollywood, but
Sartorial splendor. Mom's love is a lifetime warranty. Something's off about the car being shopped back to Dearborn or Detroit. The vaguely mentioned aspect doesn't have enough digging.
What?
How about discuss the layers of Ford family intelligence, World War II intelligence? Well, okay, we have covered Ford. Definitely look at the Henry Ford episode.
We have covered Henry Ford and the car being shipped back. There's video
and the Secret Service, and
we've
covered that
testimony about the car. I mean, it's not me. Yeah. I mean, there's the guy who worked at the glass factory part of the thing, grinding up the windshield, and oh Lord, there's a lot of documentation about the car going to Michigan.
And we have discussed it in the JFK.
Yeah, we have discussed it. We have discussed it.
Life of Brian for the last super chat. What confuses me is RFK has spent his life complaining about most shit-lived totems.
That's a lie.
And his
That's
uncle
a lie.
was.
That's a lie.
I agree. People miss that.
That's a lie. That's just not true.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been supporting every liberal program since he was a teenager. I mean, you talk
only thing he steps away on is vaccines, guys.
Right, and a couple of specific vaccines. You know what I mean? And he's not incorrect about that. I mean, I'm not throwing the guy under the bus. I'm saying come back in 2028. You never should have been here. You're acting as a spoiler for your 2028 campaign. It's gutless. It's bullshit. And it's designed to keep the Democratic Party in power and to help you in 2028. I'm calling you out on this. If there's some other reason, come on the show. You've been ducking this show for months. You told me you're coming on. You're full of shit. You people have said you're coming on the show and going to do an interview. And you know that I'm going to confront you about this, and you don't have a fucking answer. I'm tired of this guy telling me he's coming on the show to do an interview. Anyway, it is what it is. The guy's been called out. It's a bullshit campaign. He's acting as a spoiler. He knows he's acting as a spoiler. There's no lane for victory other than to strip Trump of the presidency, which is his goal for this election cycle, that he can come back in 2028 with a feather in his cap. If you have to have a path to victory, let us know what it is, bro, because you're the one who said you were never leaving your beloved Democratic Party. You were the one who said that this is your family's party, that Joe Biden is a lifelong family member of the Kennedy clan. You're the one who said you could never run as an independent. That went out the window. That's gone. Now what do I believe? I mean, you're going to tell me something else tomorrow, bro? Come on. It's enough already. Get out of the race. Get out of the freaking race.
Yep, totally agree that. Last couple locals tips. Church Fart said, question, does Oswald the dog and the Groubert come with their shots? Thanks for another great show.
No shots for them. I mean, unless there's some bullet shots. You know, some people use it for target practice. They throw them up in the air. I've seen that.
How dare they? How dare they? If it's a bear,
I mean,
that's
Oswald got shot in the stomach. I mean,
I'm telling you. Raga sent a tip. Unfortunately, can't physically make it to Dallas. Really wanted to share a photo and story of Clay Shaw at my parents' wedding. Some future meetup, I hope.
Well, how about the virtual ticket then? Obviously, not everybody can make it.
Right.
We've got virtual tickets like this guy. I understand that. I mean,
yeah. And hopefully you'll get the ticket, which,
Right. That's what I recommend. Yeah. The virtual.
Definitely. And save the story. Yeah. We're definitely.
Save the story. I'd love to hear the story about Clay Shaw at your family's wedding. I mean, obviously it was a gay marriage because of Clay Shaw, but it was New Orleans, so anything could happen down there.
All right. Last Rumble rant.
Oh, Eric, I'm sure there's more because every time you say that, this is last call, you fat bastards. Get off the couch. Eric's got it. You can't just keep sending these things in after the show as bitter balls. This is the last call. Order your drinks. I used to order like 50 drinks a last call. And then the bartender would have another last call, especially in New York because you close at 4 a.m. So they would start these last calls at like 3:30 or something,
Well, by the way, we have over 1,000 people watching on Rumble, which is amazing. So that's, over 1,000 on Rumble, 3,100 on YouTube. So 4,000 plus, another 100 and something on locals. That's amazing. Anyway, no sniper in the nest. Mark, what were the first couple of books you read about the JFK assassination? And what 2 or 3 books do you recommend we all read now?
The first one I ever read was Rush to Judgment by Mark Lane, which I recommend that people read now. And then The Crossfire by Jim Mars is another one. And then On the Trail of the Assassins by Jim Garrison. There's 3 right there. Here's something. Look at this. Here's a John Kerry card that I've just stumbled across. Look at this one.
Blech. Ugh. And to think you voted for her at the time.
I voted for her 3 times, I think, or 4 times in my life. I swear to God, I voted for her twice for Senate. And then I think she was primaried against Obama, and I kept voting for her against Obama. Remember when she was in the primary?
That was a total horrible choice all around.
Right.
Thank you, Todd Larson.
And I saw the light like Todd Larson did.
Yes. And
must be Swedish. I think Larson is one of our Swedish followers with that name, Larson, like Stiggs Larson or something. The girl with the dragon tattoo, which I highly recommend. Not the American version.
The here it is. That's why I did hear the story. It was Adam Carolla that had the fuel cut off.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
I didn't know that. I knew I had heard it. I was trying to recall.
Well, that was 30 years ago is what he's talking about. That's not now.
No, but he when he was a carpenter in LA and all that crap. But no, it was a good story. But I always thought that was a funny story. So on that note.
What note?
It's time to wrap up.
Well, this is last call. People, I can't, I'm telling you something. Hunley will pull the plug on you and you'll be embittered because your super chat came in after Hunley pulled the plug. So now this is it. This is final last call. Oh, I had a list here of people that I wanted to thank, but I can't find this list. I just really got to reel this off, Eric, before your last call. I swear to God. This is people who've donated to the JFK Book Fund. I want to thank Patrick Redelick, Christopher O'Neill, Catherine Satora, Patrick Setter, Mark Haywood, John Garden, Keith Zeringue, the wicked Woodpile, whoever you are, Jeffrey Betts, Heather Rose. This is going back a number of months. I've just been neglecting it. Jeff K, Melanie Spadig, Dustin Russell, of course, who chimed in, who's chasing a Tesla on Route 80. Christina Hill, Will Harper, Sean Patterson, Ellen Haggerty, Diane Anderson, and Lucy Goodrich, who's a big supporter of the show. I just want to give these people a shout out for the JFK Book Fund and their support of the show. Thanks.
Definitely. And I know I've seen Heather Rose multiple times.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Haggerty and a bunch of these other people have been supporting us for over 2 years. And hopefully they'll be able to meet up with us in Dallas.
And on that note, you can support the show.
What?
With first off, I haven't said much about it, but unstructured.locals.com.
What?
Great place to follow us for free. You can choose to support us there for $5 a month, $50 a year. We haven't raised it or anything else. We have stuff on there that's not available anywhere else. We try to find, different PDFs. They're very hard to find, things like that. Also, if you want to watch the show, you can watch it.
The show's
and it's
too.
not censored.
Yeah,
Every
you
time
don't
I have to
watch
cut
it on
everything
YouTube.
out,
Right.
That's the complete show there.
Right.
And I encourage everyone to check that out. I have a grill stream there every Saturday. Tomorrow, it's just
no
to hang
grill.
out.
He doesn't even have a grill.
Oh, hell no. It's ironically named. But what the hell? It became a thing. I encourage everybody to do that. What's coming up Tuesday, or are we not telling?
I'm not telling you, but it's an examination of the history of Nate the lawyer. No, I'm not saying. I'm not kidding. We're going to not tell anyone about this because it's in flux. Let me just put it that way. But it'll be interesting, and it's going to be in the tone of what we've been going.
Commies.
There might be some people from the left involved in the
Commies.
show. So I urge you to tune in on Tuesday because we did the Murettes and people said, I never knew any of that. How many times have they said that, Hunley? Hold on.
No, Barris doesn't disagree.
No, Barris doesn't. Sorry, Todd. Sorry.
Yeah,
That's
have to go back and check.
bro. Barris told me he agrees with me.
Unless he suddenly changed in the last day.
No. That's not, that dog won't hunt, bro. That dog won't hunt. But anyway, so we did the Murette episode, and that blew everybody's minds, which I knew. That's why I was so giddy about it, because that was stuff I'd researched for 15 years on the Murette family. This one is not JFK, but it's going to be about some commie thing.
Commies. So we'll see everybody on Tuesday for a show, maybe including commies.